Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast presented by FANATICS Sportsbook. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today we're going to talk about Jayson Tatum being back for the Boston Celtics, and then we're going to do our three-quarter season awards. What has the award MVP, DPOY, all-rookie, all-defense, what do those races look like? What have they brought us so far this season? But first, let's hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What's this going to be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Bryce, what's going on, You are muted to start the show.
Great start.
Stay hot, Bryce.
I was drinking my cold coffee. I was Googling what exact day the NFL legal tampering period begins because my intro was going to be how great of a time it is to be a sports fan right now between NFL free agency starting, obviously March Madness for college hoops conference tournament. I think I've already made this pitch on this show, but I just wanted to reiterate, I love this time of the year. Local high school teams, at least here in Kansas, are playing sub-state championships and headed to state tournaments next year. Just a great time for sports, and I really, really enjoy it.
I absolutely love it as well. It's an insane start to the month of March here, just because, look, we're going to figure out all this NFL free agency stuff at the beginning here, and then conference tournaments are underway, and then we've got NCAA tournament underway, and the NBA continues to just be fun and enjoyable, even though the teams at the bottom of the league continue to struggle in ways that are incomprehensible. It is an incredibly fun time to be a basketball fan, especially if you're a Celtics fan, Bryce, because Jayson Tatum is back as of Thursday. He is going to play this season, and is not only going to play, he is going to play very soon, actually, because he is questionable right now for the Boston Celtics game against Dallas on Friday. And according to Shams Charania, there's an expectation that he will make his season debut for the Boston Celtics on Friday night at TD Garden against Dallas. Sources tell ESPN. Look, there has been a ramp-up period this whole way. There have been very real signals that this has been coming now after he tore his Achilles in the NBA playoffs last year. I've been more skeptical on this than you have. You've kind of just been operating under the assumption that he's going to come back this year. And I was way more circumspect and kind of assuming that it wouldn't happen, honestly. And part of that is that it just feels like teams are so much more careful with calf injuries, so much more careful with Achilles injuries now than they were even in the past. I guess I'll just ask you this. Now that Jayson Tatum is back, what are your thoughts, and what does this mean for the season moving forward?
I think my first thing is, having been somebody who went through a major injury during my college time, just a lot of respect to not just Jayson Tatum, to anybody who goes through this. But, mine was an ACL by all accounts, and Achilles is a little bit more intense even than that. And I just think, I can't help but think about the work Tatum has done, quote unquote, in the dark, behind the scenes, whatever. And I realize the little documentary thing or whatever that is now, kind of displaying the work he's put in. But I think one thing that can sometimes be missed in this is you're not there practicing with your team every day. You're not traveling with your team all the time. Like all of that stuff that I think a lot of athletes really enjoy, which is this team thing. You're not always involved in those things. A lot of this work is done by yourself with the athletic trainer and et cetera. And so first, I just want to give Jayson Tatum a ton of love for just what looks like an insane amount of work to even be talking about him being back and ready to play in this amount of time. Second, I hope so much that there is no sense of pushing this. And I don't have a sense that the Celtics or his side of things would do that. I just hope there's not even a 1% of, well, the East is kind of open. Maybe we push this ahead a little bit more than what we normally would. I just hope there's none of that he is truly fully healthy, ready to go. And then my final thing is, I do think this changes the calculation because, Sam, we're talking potentially 20 games to integrate him into this roster. So that is significant. I will just say, I think there's part of me also that we could see Tatum come back for 5 games, something flare up, and, then they end up being precautious. And so before I go too crazy, let's see if he can make it 5-10 games, look good. The rest of his body holds up. I'm not even talking about that leg, right? Sometimes it can happen on another part of your body, whatever. I'm not wishing that on him. I'm just saying, let's see how it progresses. But man, what a incredible rehabilitation, I guess, from Tatum from this Achilles injury. It's so impressive.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, I think that they had said it was like higher on the calf, like closer to the calf muscle, which can mean that sometimes that is a little bit quicker to recover from, as opposed to it being like lower toward like the foot, right? Why that is, I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I just know what people say in terms of like the doctors and everything like that. So, this could certainly have played a role in Tatum's recovery as well. And like you said, like, I just hope he gets through these really like the first 2 weeks. Like, I really hope he gets through the first 2 weeks healthy and we get to see what this Celtics team is capable of now that he's back, because man, they've been outstanding the whole year, last night notwithstanding, against the wagon that is the Charlotte Hornets. They are currently sitting in second place in the Eastern Conference. They are 1.5 games up on the New York Knicks, 2.5 games up on the Cleveland Cavaliers, 5.5 games up on Toronto for 5th. So like they're totally locked into the top 4 at the very least. 5 games behind the Pistons. So I would imagine that, it's somewhere 2 through 4 for the Celtics. They've in all likelihood earned first round bye in the playoffs, or not a first round bye, rather, first round home court advantage. I'm thinking of conference tournaments too much with these first round buys. The Horizon tournament's like the craziest thing I've ever seen bracket wise. First round home court advantage. It is truly amazing that Tatum is back, and I'm really excited to see what he can bring to the table for the Celtics team, because last night and in these games where Peyton Pritchard just like doesn't have it, right? Like he's had 2 20-point games in his last 4 games, and he's had, I think, like 2 points or 0 points in each of those 2 games around those 4 games, right? So I think they've been one creator short the whole year. I do think that the Celtics scheme is something that, even if it takes Tatum like a little bit of time to get the juice athletically, like the explosiveness that he has and everything going, they just have so much space, and they're so smart about like using him in the post and using him in situations that are advantageous, that he should be well positioned to continue to have success moving forward here. I am really, really interested to see what the Tatum experience looks like, because this really could push the Celtics toward being the favorite in the Eastern Conference. I'm not willing to go there until we see him for 2 weeks, and hopefully everything is all clear. But if he is all clear and we're back to even, like, what percentage of the old Jayson Tatum would the Celtics need in order to be Eastern Conference favorites for you right now?
The immediate number that came to mind was 80%. Because I just think that even 80% of Tatum, because I think what I'm okay with there is Jaylen Brown is just going to be the man. And so your hierarchy can somewhat stay the same. And then Tatum just kind of fills in some of the gaps of, like what you said about if Peyton Pritchard doesn't have it that night, it offers some versatility in terms of lineups, rotations, defensive schemes. I said this whenever they made the Vooch trade, that the Vooch trade for Simons or Simons for Vooch was a lot more intriguing if Tatum comes back. It was a little bit more just like swapping out guys at positions. But now you have Vooch coming off the bench. You have Peyton Pritchard coming off the bench. If you can now insert Jayson Tatum into the starting lineup, not saying on Friday night, but eventually, then that whole idea just, you added Vooch essentially for nothing because Pritchard is quote unquote taking the Anthony Simons role. Like it'd be hard pressed not to think they're the favorites if he looks anything close to what he was. I mean, even if he's a catch and shoot guy that rebounds, creates a little bit, runs some isolations, like he's such a good player. 80% of a top 5 MVP candidate last year is a heck of a player. So like you said, it's exciting for Boston fans, and it's allowed other guys to flourish this year. I know they don't play the same position, but we've seen Keita really grow this year, and the young wings have gotten opportunities. We'll see who they lean into in the playoffs, but and I just want to highlight it again. He has 20 games to figure it out. I think that's important. It's not like we're a week from the end of the season and then he's thrust right into the playoffs. If he can stay healthy, he could get 15 games, even with some rest built in, first round playoff series, and then you're into the semifinals, and he's had 20 games under his belt to really acclimate.
Yeah, like the Hugo, Jordan Walsh, like Baylor Shireman recently has been on the court quite a bit for the Celtics. Like that group has been really intriguing. And obviously Pritchard is the biggest guy who took a leap this year, just statistically at least. I don't know if he's a drastically better basketball player even than what he has been previously. It's just that he got a chance to play on the ball more consistently, and I think has been awesome. I think my number is 90. I think it would need to be, he would need to be really high level for the Celtics to be the favorite. That's more because I think that the top teams in the East have been outstanding. It's Detroit. It looks really good defensively, and I think has the kind of roster that can cause the Celtics some issues defensively, right? If Tatum is not totally right. I would say that the Knicks obviously gave them a ton of problems in the playoffs last year with Jayson Tatum. Even before his injury in that series, the Knicks were on pace to go up 3-0. You look even at a team like Charlotte that just went in and beat them horrifically last night. Like that game was never all that close, even it felt like. And Charlotte has been just incredible this year. If they were the 2 seed and Charlotte ends up in the 7 seed, like, and Tatum is at like 80% playing, like maybe Boston wins that series. Maybe Charlotte wins that series. I don't know is the answer, but I think Boston would be favored, but it would be a real question to me with how well Charlotte has played coming down the stretch. So I think the world of this Celtics staff, as we will talk about when we transition into awards here, I have been so impressed with what they've been able to do. And I'm really interested to kind of talk through it all as this all progresses. And I'm sure in 2 weeks from today, we will probably do a Jayson Tatum breakdown and kind of talk through what we've seen and what we haven't seen, right? But yeah, it's kind of where it's at for me.
Yep, I agree.
Okay. So, Bryce, I want to transition into awards now. The way that we decided to do awards this cycle was typically we do some sort of projection in regard to, games played, everything like that. Because there are under 20 games left in the season, the way that we went about it was if you haven't hit the threshold, because injuries are like a thing that happens. Like typically you play 20 games in a row if you're healthy at the end of the day, and especially if you're going for awards, right? So if you are still eligible for awards, you are eligible for our awards, is the way that we did it. That means if you are on pace to play 65 games, if you stay healthy the rest of the way, you're good. Right?
The best example of this, the way we had done it previously, which was the percentage of games played, Jokic wouldn't have been part of the awards today because he wouldn't have had the percentage out of 60 games played. But we are going to include him because right now he has not passed the threshold of missed games. And you text me this, and this was already the way I was planning on approaching it. So we were on the same wavelength without even talking.
Yeah, Wemby and Kawhi are two others that would have been impacted by this. But look, like Kawhi has missed 14 games so far. He has a couple of games leeway still. Like it felt right to me to kind of give them a shot to be in the awards conversation, right?
Yes, I agree 100%.
Okay. So with that being said, we are going to shout out our friends at Omaha Steaks. There's nothing better than a good steak, than a good smash burger. These things are the perfect foods to me. If you just get like a piece of red meat that's unbelievable, you grill the edges, you get it like crispy, but then you have that like nice red meat flavor right in the middle. It's exactly what I want. And now I have an answer for how you can grill up the best meats, all from your own home. Omaha Steaks sells any burger, steak, anything that you're looking for. They have pure ground brisket burgers. They have the special filet mignon that is always good. And you can rely on Omaha Steaks to deliver exactly what you're looking for and do so at an excellent price. They also don't just do beef. Omaha Steaks offers an exclusive lineup of USDA certified tender steaks, gourmet burgers, versatile chicken, pork, seafood, and more, delivered all right to your door. Get 50% off the world's best everyday protein. Go to Omaha Steaks, OMAHASTEAKS.com for 50% off site-wide during their semi-annual sale. And for an extra $35 off, use the promo code GAMETHEORY at checkout. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with the promo code GAMETHEORY, GAMETHEORY at checkout, omahasteaks.com. Okay, Bryce. Let's talk awards. And I think I just want to start with MVP. I think that's where we're going to go at the beginning of this thing. We're going to talk through what the MVP race is going to look like this season in the NBA. I am fascinated to see who your three names are below the top two. I think we both know that Shea and Jokic will be at the top, and we'll talk about them kind of at the end here. But who did you have for fifth in this thing?
Cade and Wemby.
Oh, wow. This is amazing. Okay. So who did you have third then?
Cade.
Oh, so I asked who you had fifth.
Oh, I had Doncic fifth.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, wait, like what's going on here? Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so
I thought you asked me for the first two names. Okay, so I'll just quickly. I have Cade third, Wemby fourth, Doncic fifth.
Okay. So I have Cade third, I have Wemby fourth, and I have Anthony Edwards fifth.
Yeah.
So
real quick, Cade and Wemby were 3-4 very quickly for me. And then I had 1, 2, 4 guys that I've like tried to decide between the fifth spot. And Anthony Edwards was definitely one of those.
Yeah. So the guys that ended up like I gave thought to in the fifth spot, right? Anthony Edwards, Luka Doncic, Jaylen Brown, Kevin Durant, Donovan Mitchell, Kawhi Leonard, a little bit of I thought about Brunson briefly at least, but I was able to kind of remove him pretty quickly from the conversation, I would say. Those really, it was like 6 guys for the fifth spot for me. And I think you could kind of order those guys in a lot of different ways. I do think that, Doncic and Edwards have to be like toward the top of that range to me. But at the end of the day, I ended up going with Ant at 5. Let's start with Cade and Wemby at 3 and 4. Why are they the clear 3 and 4 players for us here?
So for me with Cade, it is he does everything for Detroit. I find it hard. I would find it hard for people to push back too much whenever everybody is quick to point out the flaws this team has offensively, but also what he continues to do. And I will concede that Cade is not the level of scorer as some of these other guys we're going to talk about. He's not the level of Shea. He's not the level of Luka Doncic, but he is probably the best creator outside of Jokic of the names. Some people may say Doncic is, But at the end of the day, to me, it was like, okay, him or Luka. Cade is there as a creator. His team is better. He's by far the best player on what is right now the best team in the East. And he's just considerably better defensively than Luka Doncic is. And some of these other names we're going to talk about. I think that's where I always go to with Cade. And then for Wemby, while there's some ups and downs with the offense, if I want to value defense, and I think I did a decent job of that as I went throughout, obviously there's always some nuance to it. He's the best defender in the NBA, and his team is incredible. Like, they are so good in the Western Conference. And so it just, I guess, kind of the two-way play of both of those guys is what got me to having them as 3 and 4.
Yeah, I agree with those 3 and 4 picks. Obviously, with Cade, for me, Cade is averaging 25 points, 10 assists, 5.8 rebounds, shooting 46, 33, 81. Sure, like, I guess that the shooting efficiency is, slightly worse than some of these guys, but he's the best, like, ball screen playmaker in the NBA. The way that they're able to utilize him in post situations from time to time is really impressive. And he just runs everything for this team at the end of the day. The thing that stands out to me with Cade that has drastically improved this season is I think that he plays more consistently at speed as opposed to being a little bit more deliberate. And, you watch every Pistons game, so tell me if I'm off about this. It's felt like even last year and certainly in years prior, like he had to play a bit more deliberately previously. This year, he just plays at speed in transition. He is able to play at speed while his brain, which is better than almost anybody else's in the NBA in terms of processing things quickly, he's able to play at speed while his brain also goes at speed. And that allows him to just pick apart defenses and really, go into overdrive for the Pistons offense. When he's on the court offensively, the Pistons score 120.5 points per 100 possessions. When he's off the court, it's like 111. They just really fall apart without him offensively. And it's because he's a real scoring threat. But to me, it's more the passing and the playmaking. He gets everybody involved. He gets everybody's shots in positions to get them going early in games, I think, as well. He plays as like the real primary point guard to make sure that, the true distributor type that will get everybody a touch on the ball, get them into the game early, especially Jalen Duren, I think, is a great example of this. And just making sure that the team is organized and structured. Some of these things are things that just like aren't going to show up on the stat sheet for whatever reason. But I think that what he does organizing their offense is really valuable. The transition play is obviously incredible for Cade Cunningham. I love what he brings to the table for the Pistons. And you brought up the defense. He is at the very least an average defender. Among the like MVP candidates that I just brought up, I would say he's obviously not as good as Wemby, but I would say he's been a better overall defender than Anthony Edwards this year in terms of like consistency game in, game out. Certainly ahead of Luka. I would have him ahead of Jaylen Brown. I think Jalen's like off-ball stuff drives me a little bit too crazy from time to time. I think he's a little bit more switchable and capable than Donovan Mitchell. I think he's probably a bit better than Kevin Durant, even defensively at this point. Durant has his, really matchups where he's able to make a massive impact. But, I would say that at the end of the day, I would probably say that Cade has been a little bit better defensively. And certainly like Brunson, he's ahead of. Kawhi has been a little bit better defensively as the season has gone on. I would say Kawhi at his best is still better than Cade. But just looking through, we kind of had this conversation earlier in the year. Like Cade is at the upper end of the MVP candidates, certainly ahead of Jokic. I think I would say Shea is slightly ahead defensively, but like, just different roles in terms of what they're being asked to do. Like he's certainly near the upper end defensively on top of being this massive playmaker for the best team in the league, second best team in the league, in the Detroit Pistons, but an outstanding player and somebody that is well deserving of both first team All NBA recognition and, third place in MVP recognition as well to me.
Yeah. It's been exciting just to see because, I always say this is who he's always been, and that's probably a little bit unfair. He has definitely grown this year, but I always felt like you could see this potential coming out of him. And I can't use who is the Pistons' second best player anymore to pitch how good he is, because they have they have an all-star second player now. But I think that's part of why his game has taken another level. My pitch offensively is he's still surrounded by one of the worst floor spacing teams in the NBA in terms of the amount of non-shooters and just volume 3-point shooting and 3-point percentage. So I think he's had an incredible year. And ultimately, if people want to value winning and a value best player on one of the best teams, I mean, it's just hard to argue against that right now with him.
Okay. Wemby at 4 is just this incredible combination of offense and defense, right? I've seen some people complain about the Wembanyama offensive experience recently. And I do understand to some extent, I guess, why that's the case. But he is still a guy that is averaging 23, 11, and 3, shooting 50, 34, 81. His floor spacing is a massive value add for the Spurs out there, and allows them to play their guards like Dylan Harper, like Stephon Castle, who have not knocked down shots from distance this season. I think that the defense with Wemby is just so all-encompassingly dominant at the end of the day. The way that he is on the court, entirely changing the geometry of the game. We talk about that all the time. They have a 107.8 defense with Wemby on the court. They have a 115.4 defensive rating when he's off of the court. And this is now with his direct backup being Luke Cornett, who's a really, really good defensive player as well. Again, his length just changes the geometry of basketball games. Offensively, would I like to see him be a little bit more consistent, finding, a true go-to move? Do I think the synergy between he and De'Aaron Fox could be a little bit better at times? I do, but he's still just so dominant that it doesn't matter right now. He is so physically capable and so skilled that his presence just completely changes the game, and is the biggest reason why the San Antonio Spurs are sitting here at 44 and 17 and in second place in the Western Conference. I didn't see this coming where they would be this good this fast. I thought they would be pretty good, but I didn't see this being, this immediate, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah, I think other players on that team deserve some real credit for how they've played this season. But ultimately, I don't think anybody would think that they would be this good without, Wembanyama playing this many games and playing at the level he's played at. And I mean, it is worth noting, because I'm sure we'll say it with Jokic as well, that, and you kind of alluded to it, Victor, there is a chance that whenever we do this again in 6 weeks, that he won't be part of the list. But and I think this is the first time he's been eligible completely. It's the first time he made my list based on how I had done the criteria. But I pretty easily had him here just based on the defensive impact, which is unbelievable, the winning, and the fact that it's not like he's bad offensively. You know what I mean? Of these guys that are eligible, he's almost like a top 20 scorer. He does it with 50% from the field. He has real gravity. I think that's the other thing I always like to bring up. He's such a good two-way basketball player.
Yeah. Teams get up to the level against him and really have to guard him as a shooter, which opens up the rest of the court for their guards in a significant way. Allows them to play fast with guys like Fox, and certainly Castle likes to get up and down. Certainly Harper likes to get up and down as well. Give me the Luka pitch at 5 real quick, and I'll give the Ant pitch at 5 real quick.
Yeah, so I think my thing is he's just so good offensively, Sam. I get it, and I was just the guy hey, I'm going to value some defense in these rankings. I did so with Wembanyama. I will later in my rankings, especially, with a guy on third team, I think, but I go into these and I do give a lot of value to being the guy on the offensive end. And not that Anthony Edwards isn't that. He obviously is. And Ant is having a ridiculous season offensively, but Luka is as well. I mean, Luka averages almost 3 more points per game than him. The efficiency's really only less at the 3-point line, gets to the free throw line more, obviously is a better passer and creator, more rebounds. I know how bad the defense can be with Doncic at times. I think ultimately what I decided is I know where the Lakers are at in the standings, Sam. But if we're going to sit here episode in, episode out, and just say that roster is completely not constructed right, how much can I blame Luka for them not having more wins than what they do? And they still are 37-24. It's not like they're a 500 team. And so ultimately, I just went with a guy who I think has been really good this year, a team that has won a lot of games, and a roster that is very flawed.
I get that the roster is flawed. I think that is true. I think that Luka has probably made more negative plays this year than I've seen from him in the past, in a way that is a bit frustrating. The turnovers obviously have been pretty real. Some of the shot decisions in terms of like the setbacks and things like that have driven me a little bit crazy. I don't care as much about like the foul grifting as much as some people do. I don't care as much about the complaining as much as some people do. To me, it is more like the defense and the just overall, like, there are some real negative plays that he's made this year where it's like, I'm just going and I'm making this decision, and I get it that he's the best player on the court and he has that latitude and he has that leeway. For me, it's more, we're talking about him as like, the 3rd best player in the league versus the 6th best player in the league when we talk about that conversation, right? It's not, we're impugning Luka by saying that he hasn't, quite lived up to that marker this year, but like he's taking 10 threes a game right now. It feels like he has been a bit less willing to just drive and force defenses to collapse onto him than we have seen in the past. Obviously the defense has been messy as well. He's been incredible getting to the foul line. There's no question there, but it does feel like he settles just a little bit more often for me, I think. The reason I went Ant over Luka is that it did come down to the crunch time numbers. And I understand that this is something that people get annoyed about because it's small sample, but it is the things that, happened in the game and they matter to me. He's had 23 games this year where they've been in crunch time. He averages 5.7 points per game in those moments. That's second behind Shea. He's shooting 56, 36, 83 in those moments. That's just like completely absurd and completely obscene. The level to which he has dominated crunch time and clutch time this year is kind of like not fathomable to me. He's been unbelievable in those moments. Luka's been pretty good in those moments. He's shooting 46, 43, 88. They've just played less often in crunch time. The Lakers are 12-4 in clutch moments. The Minnesota Timberwolves are 14-9 in clutch moments. So like slightly better record for the Lakers, but I think that Ant has been a little bit better in those moments than Luka. The defense was a real factor for me. I thought that I think that Ant's defense, while not always fantastic necessarily, is at a much higher level than what we've seen from Luka this year. 30 points per game, 5.2 rebounds, 3.7 assists, shooting 49, 40, 79 this year. And I think that he has been a monster this season. He has been so incredible for a team that around him really desperately needs his offensive firepower and production, given the way that the backcourt, Mike Conley, guys like that have not been up to the level that we've seen from them previously, even though Jaden McDaniels and Julius Randle are certainly doing their thing in the front court. Dante this year has been okay, I would say. Like he's, shooting 39% from 3. He's definitely been like this incredible floor spacer, but that's really all he's done. they just went out and got Ayo Dosunmu. So like he's played 9 games. He doesn't play a huge impact there. Mike Conley shooting 32% from the field. They've had to dust off the Bones Highland experience. Rob Dillingham played in 350 minutes before he was dealt to the Chicago Bulls. So like there's just a lot that he has been tasked with doing. And I think that at the end of the day, I would go with Ant over Luka right now, but it's pretty close.
Ant was 6 for me, so he led my second team. Like I said, there was, once I got past Cade and Wemby, it was Luka and a few other names that I knew I wanted to be there, and Edwards was the first one. I'll just say defensively, there's no question he's better than Luka defensively, no question. I think sometimes I dock him a little bit, maybe more than is fair, because I think he should be better defensively. You talk about Jaylen Brown's off-the-ball defense driving you crazy. Anthony Edwards' off-the-ball defense drives me crazy. And I just think that there are times where he could be more impactful. Yet again, I hope we see it in the playoffs. I hope we see him be that defensive impact and be able to handle double teams in the playoffs. And I think we might. But I have no qualms having Edwards over Doncic.
Yep. Okay. 1 and 2. Who do you have?
Shea's 1 for me.
Shea is also 1 for me. I thought this was pretty clear, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I didn't have to spend much time. I love Jokic, but he's missed more games. The defense has been really, really bad, even for him recently, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And Shea has come back from his stuff, and I feel like still been absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, I have not loved Jokic on defense, to be honest with you. It did really become a differentiator for me in terms of like value added this season. Just for reference, as a number here that kind of puts where I'm at and where my headspace is at on it in really strong, calculation or whatever. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, according to dunksandthrees.com's estimated wins added metric, has 15.1 this year. Jokic is at 12.8. That's essentially like the difference between Jokic and 5th overall, which is Donovan Mitchell at 10.7, right? That feels about right to me, that it would be pretty close. Like the difference between Shai and Jokic is difference between like 2nd and 5th right now in estimated wins added. I saw that Matt Moore made like an argument about how Oklahoma City, they win games on the basis of their defense, and Shai is not their best defender. He's like somewhere between like their 5th and 8th best defender, depending on what you think. I don't agree with that. Like the easiest example that I would, argue against that is the Jordan Bulls, right? Like the Jordan Bulls won their titles on the back of their defense. And the reason that they could defend as aggressively as they do is because Jordan took up all of the usage that he was able to as a shot creator. Shai is able to take up all the usage that he's able to as a shot creator, while also providing really high level defense. And I would argue that Jordan, behind Rodman and Pippen, was the 3rd best defender on those Bulls teams as well. Jordan's a better defender than Shai, and I'm certainly not comparing Shai as an overall basketball player to Jordan. I think Jordan's a better player than Shai. But I'm just saying like the way that argument breaks down a little bit for me. Shai's unbelievable. He gets to his spots whenever he wants, wherever he wants. He's able to get to that mid-range jumper at will. In terms of what their efficiencies are, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 67.1 true shooting percentage. Nikola Jokic, 67.3 true shooting percentage. They are the only players in the top, I don't know, let's go with 30 in the estimated wins number that have a true shooting percentage over 65, and they're both up over 67 right now. You can complain about the way that Shai gets to his spots, the fouls, whatever, right? Again, the grifting thing doesn't bother me as much, but I understand that it bothers people. The thing is that like this is a results-based business, and these things happened. The fouls happened. He got to the line. He understood how to get to the line. That's the reality. So it's allowed him to be just as efficient as Jokic. And you can certainly make the case that he is not as good of a passer as Jokic. He's not. But I do think that there is a really marked difference in their defense this year. And on top of it, you throw in that he's played 6 extra games. I did end up going with Shea like pretty clearly, while Jokic was the very clear, obvious pick at number 2. And if you made me say who the best player in the world is right now, I think that I would still say that, like, if you made me pick one game where I had to win, I would probably pick Jokic, because I think Jokic would lock in defensively for that one game and would elevate based on what he's been. But I think that at the end of the day, Jokic's defense for the last couple of months has just not been good enough, in my opinion, comparatively to where it's been in the past.
Yeah, to be clear, like, I think Jokic is probably playing through maybe not being 100% off of his injury, and I'm not saying he's only playing to be available for awards. They need to win games right now as well, right? Denver, in terms of the standings. And so I do think we will see Nikola Jokic be better in the playoffs. But I think you said it very clear right there. I think sometimes we mix these conversations. I brought this up recently. I hate the way these guys are officiated sometimes. That's not what we're doing today. That conversation was for then. Aesthetics, to me, should not matter when it comes to awards. Whenever we are having this specific conversation, to me, all that matters is, do you get it done? Do you put the ball in the basket? Do you create for your teammates? Do you defend? Do you win games? Etc. And so, again, I in general, the grifting stuff is not something I care about. But for me, it carries zero weight whenever we're talking awards. And I will not tell somebody else how to do their awards. If it bothers other people and they want to dock Shea because of how he gets it done, so be it. But for me, I could care less when it comes to this conversation. Now, again, if you want to hear my thoughts on it in general, we just talked about it on Sunday, where I brought up a very frustrated, pitch with some of the things I would like to see the NBA change. But MVP award, Shea gets the job done the way the game is officiated right now. That's what he should do. It's what he gets paid to do, Sam. He gets paid to put points on the board.
And shout out to our friends over at the FANATICS Sportsbook. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, minus 330 right now for MVP. Jokic plus 500. Cade, 10-1. Victor Wembanyama, 20-1. Jaylen Brown, 50-1. Doncic, 100-1. Donovan Mitchell, 150-1. Anthony Edwards, 200-1. So the Sportsbook disagrees with us at number 5. They would have Brown at number 5 right now. That is our first team All-NBA choices, in addition to our MVP race there. You would have Anthony Edwards, first guy on your second team All-NBA ballot. I would have Luka Doncic, first guy on my second team All-NBA ballot. Who were the others that you chose here?
Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant.
Those are also my 5.
I thought we were going to have the same top 10, and then I'm interested. I wondered what you would do with Kawhi, and I'm interested to see the pushback. He's been too good, Sam. Like, he's been absolutely incredible. And he is one of the guys. I have 2 guys whose teams I think are in the play-in right now. I do value winning, and I realize they haven't done it as high a level as some other guys maybe, but he's been so good. Like, when I watch him play, I don't know. Like, if you ask me how good he's been since the first of the year, and I know that's not the whole season, he might be a top 5 player since the first of the year, and the way he's gone about his business. And again, right now he's eligible.
Bryce, I think he's been even better than that. Like,
sure.
Since the first of the year, he's been like just completely unconscious. It's December 23rd through now. Those 29 games, Kawhi Leonard is averaging 29.5 points, 6.5 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting 51, 39, 87. And he has been much better defensively in that time too. I think that he's been probably the 3rd or 4th best player in the league in that time, if you made me say. He's been unbelievable. He's been completely unbelievable in that window with how he's able to get to his spots, how he's able to get his shots, clearly carrying that team even still to what will likely be a play-in berth. They have won, I believe it is right now, even post-trade deadline, 7 of their last 10 games, with a win over Minnesota in that time, a win over Houston in that time, a win over Denver in that time, and a win over, Golden State is what they are right now. But regardless, like they are winning big games against good teams, and Kawhi has been the sole entire reason why it feels like a lot of nights. So Kawhi is very clearly here to me on second team. Kevin Durant, I kind of want to talk about Kevin Durant too. If you want to have Kevin Durant at 5th in your MVP race, I actually think that's like a pretty reasonable case to be made. KD is averaging 26 points, shooting 51, 40, 89 right now, 5.4 rebounds, 4.5 assists. The reason that I ended up with him second team versus first team is I do think that like he is like slightly more schemable right now than these other guys. On some level, you can't stop him from making the shots that he does. If he gets to his spot in the mid-range, it's just over. I think he's been just like slightly slower this season in recognizing doubles and in recognizing, crowded moments when he's on the court offensively. And the turnovers have been like a little bit backbreaking for me from time to time. He hasn't been able to like be quite as on ball quite as often as I would, like to see from somebody who I have at 5th in the MVP race right now. But very clearly a guy that I had in my top, I think 8 or 9 right now has been unbelievable. The fact that we're talking about Kevin Durant at 37 years old being a top 8 or 9 player in the league is ludicrous. It's completely ludicrous. I don't know that KD can be the best player on a title team anymore, but I think he can very clearly be one of the 10 best players in the league and dominate games in the way that he is so capable of as a scorer and playmaker.
Yeah, this list is kind of fun here in the second team with him. I wouldn't have guessed that we were going to be doing the Kevin Durant is the best player on the Rockets and is unquestionably the guy that the Rockets are going to get on All NBA. I think I at least thought it would be more of a conversation between him and Şengün, or, maybe even Amin had really taken a leap. And I'm not saying Amin hasn't taken a leap. He has, taken a leap this year, but I didn't have it on my bingo card that Kevin Durant would unquestionably be the Rocket guy. Kawhi Leonard, I just didn't think would be on our list at all. Just in general, I didn't feel like he would probably play enough games. And then Jaylen Brown, right? And this one obviously is part of the injury to Tatum that we talked about at the top, but he's had an incredible season, and him being right here unquestionably for me on second team is a testament to him. And I know there's some advanced numbers out there. His on-offs are bad or something. I see people crush all the time. They're technically supposedly better with him off the court than on the court. When I've watched Jaylen Brown and the Celtics play, I feel like he's a pretty big part to their success. So I wanted to, I'm not trying to like leave Donovan Mitchell out of this conversation. I just thought those 3 guys kind of uniquely weren't guys here in the second team that I thought would be part of this conversation, that we might actually be talking about a different teammate or not talking about them at all in Kawhi's case.
Yeah. The Jaylen Brown conversation is driving me a little bit crazy right now. I get why people will bring this up. It's been a multi-year thing for Jaylen where they, quote unquote, are better with him off the court than on the court. These numbers oftentimes will not account for strength of lineup quality that he's facing off against night after night. He's playing the starters every night. Guys like Hugo and everything like that who have the crazy on-offs are facing the backups most of the time, or much more often, as a higher percentage of their minutes than Jaylen Brown is. The other thing is, like, when people bring up the idea of this is a multi-year thing, I think this year is just drastically different because, like, if you want to make the case that as a secondary ball handler, when Jayson Tatum was out there and was creating as many shots, that Jaylen Brown's, sometimes inattentiveness on defense, sometimes he struggles to get through off-ball screens, some of his decision-making things were a bit more of a hindrance. I will hear those cases out. Honestly, I will. Like I think that there is something to be said for them from time to time, where he is as on ball dominant as he is, and sometimes there can be diminishing returns on his levels of efficiency and the way that he will dominate the ball when you have another truly great player next to him in Jayson Tatum, right? This year, that argument does not exist to me because he has to create everything for them when he's on the court. I get that their offense is at 121.9 with him off the court and at 120.9 with him on the court. But again, I'm just telling you, like, a lot of those lineups are against bench units. And when they're playing against like the best defenders in the NBA, and when they're playing against the best, starters, and an opposing team has a Sar Thompson or something on the opposing side, and he's still able to create a shot against a Sar Thompson, it's just a totally different deal. It means so much more to me in the context of this conversation, right? I'm not even like if Jayson Tatum comes back and looks great and has been unbelievable, I'm not even opposed to them looking into like cashing in high on Jayson Tatum after this amazing season in the offseason. Jaylen Brown, not Jayson Tatum. Yeah. Cashing in high on Jaylen Brown this offseason in a trade where they're like, okay, we could get a king's ransom for him. Let's go get younger. Let's go get more flexibility against the salary cap. We got out of the tax here. We could get out of the tax next year, get out of the repeater while adding like a crazy amount of talent. I don't know that I would do it. I'm just saying, like, I'm not even opposed to that conversation. But for the all NBA and MVP conversations this year, I think that it is much more important that Tatum is out there for Boston and is able to create these shots because they desperately need it night after night after night.
Yeah. Now, I mentioned this with Don. I just really value, when we're talking this award, I really value these primary guys. And I try to mix in the defense and value that again, especially when you get to third team. There's going to be a guy where he's definitely more making third team because of his defense than necessarily his offense, even though he does run a lot of offense as well. I think sometimes we value what you just described, or we undervalue what you just described and the energy it takes. And I feel like I make this point every time we do this, so I don't want to, belabor it, but I think it is important to continue to bring up.
Okay. The fifth guy was Donovan Mitchell. Donovan's been awesome this year. It's like a little bit boring to talk about Donovan's like just repeated level of consistency year after year, night after night for Cleveland. And he probably does get the short end of the stick on some level. Was a first team All NBA player last year. This will be his third All NBA team this season. It will be richly deserved. This is his highest volume scoring season. He's at 28.5 points per game. 5.8 assists is his second most assists per game in a season. With the Darius Garland injury early in the season, and then now they're integrating James Harden, he was responsible for just about everything, it felt like, for Cleveland. Obviously, Evan Mobley was out for a significant portion of time there as well. Just a fantastic player, and has carried the Cavs to where they've gotten to this year. So not even close.
Yep,
I agree. Has to be on the second team.
No question. He was very easily on the second team for me as well. There, we always kind of end up with tiers. It was the 1-2, then the 3-4, and then it was kind of these six guys, as you've mentioned. And then third team, I think third team will be fun. My guess is we're going to have different third teams.
So for what it's worth, I had Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Maxey, both of whom I would imagine are both on our third teams, correct?
They were my next two.
Yeah. So I did have them in this tier with this group as well.
Sure.
For the most part. They were easily kind of removed, but I did very clearly have them.
Okay. That's fair to say. I would say those were my last two. I would say those were my last two, like 100% on an all NBA team. I think the next guy, that's probably fair.
Okay, who were your next three? I'll just ask you then.
Jamal Murray, Scotty Barnes, Jalen Johnson.
Okay, so we have two of the same three.
Okay.
So I had Jamal Murray and Scotty Barnes as well.
Okay.
Let's talk about Brunson and Maxey first. So Brunson averaging 26.5 points, 6 rebounds, shooting 47, 38, 84. Tyrese Maxey is at 29 points, 4 rebounds, 6.7 assists, shooting 46, 37, 89. His very slightly cooled off, I would argue, from what was a completely unequivocally nuclear start to the year. Just an incredible basketball duo here of shot creators who do it in such disparate ways. Maxey with speed, Brunson with craft and footwork and shoulders and physicality, right? Love both of these guys. Very clearly all NBA performers to me.
Yeah, I mean, with Maxey, it's just the energy he plays with. He's played in 60 games this year, has played the most minutes in the NBA. He actually leads the NBA in points. Obviously, the minutes played is part of that, but there's just something to be said for that. I love the two-man game he has with Embiid whenever Embiid is playing. And I do think, I think he gives energy on defense. I don't think he's a good defender necessarily, right? He doesn't always hold up in the ways you might want, and we'll see how that looks in the playoffs. But I do think he gives real energy. And then, I watched that game, the Knicks Thunder game from last night. And Brunson, I think I wrote in my notes there, and I think this is the best. It just seems like he's always going to make the big shot when it comes to him. And I know he doesn't. I know he's not perfect in clutch time. But there was even a point in the middle of the game where I felt like the Knicks really needed buckets, and you just knew he was gonna make them. There's almost an inevitability with him in terms of he's gonna make these tough shots. He's so crafty with a little bump into his mid-range, and he doesn't need that much space. He's very sudden. And while the defense is a real issue, we all know this, I do respect the way he goes after offensive fouls on the opponent. I mean, I don't know how many times, Sam, I write it in all caps every time they play the Pistons and he gets Cade and then a Sar Thompson or somebody with offensive fouls. How is this not at the top of the scouting report? Because he's always looking to do it on the ball, off the ball, running in transition, whatever. So I at least appreciate that he's tried to find a way to make an impact and, cause some disruption and force turnovers defensively. I would say ultimately the defense is probably why he ends up on third team for me. But, I mean, he's a star. I mean, he's incredible still.
The defense for me was the tiebreaker with him versus some of the second team guys at the end of the day. With Maxey, I will just note his last 17 games, he's at 28 points per game, 6.5 assists, both of which outstanding. But he's shooting 43, 33, 91, getting to the line just slightly less often than what he was earlier, or slightly more often rather, than what he was earlier in the year. But the shooting numbers are tailing a little bit. And I wonder, how much of that is usage and what he's being required to do a lot of the time right now. And also the minute load. He has been asked to do so much. It is completely bonkers how much he's being asked to do. Let's go to the two guys we both shared, which is Jamal Murray. Go ahead.
Real quick, I would just say, I gave Maxey all the love for playing 2,300 minutes. Jalen Brunson is actually 10th in the NBA in minutes played at over 2,000 as well. So I wanted to give Brunson some love for that. And then as you're going into this, Jamal Murray is 12th in the NBA, has also passed the 2,000 minute threshold.
Yeah, so Jamal Murray, 26 points, 4.4 rebounds, 7.3 assists, basically all around the same turnover number. 48, 43, 88. I mean, there was a time when I think we were rightfully worried after Jamal's knee injury and after the Olympics and everything, whether or not Jamal Murray would even get back to the level that he was at when they won the title, for instance. And we're here. He's the best he's ever been. And it's such a credit to him for continuing to rehab and work through things. First All-Star berth this year. I would have him getting his first All-NBA berth as of right now. We'll see if it holds in that manner. Just an outstanding, truly fantastic basketball player whose synergy with Jokic gets better and better every year, and who actually has had more on his plate this year than what he has even had to have previously due to all of the injuries that they have had, with Cam Johnson playing 37 games, Christian Brown 26 games, Aaron Gordon 23 games. Jokic obviously is down to 46 games and has missed quite a bit of time as well. So I think Murray is well deserving of an All-NBA berth this year.
I agree. I think one thing I've learned to appreciate more with him, as I watch more and more games, is he's a tough shot maker, but I think the nuance and the ways he finds easier shots at times I wasn't giving him enough credit for. And so he's been incredible this year. You've given all the numbers, and I agree with all of it. Just, I'm glad he's being able to put some of this stuff to his name after, being the best player without an all-star in the NBA, it seems like, for the last 5 years. Now, not only the all-star, but, potentially an all-NBA nod as well.
Yep. Scotty Barnes
also played over 2,000 minutes this year. I think this is the guy I've been alluding to, where I think Scotty's awesome defensively. And I will spoil this a little bit. The only reason I don't have him first team all defense is because all defense is a disaster to try to figure out. I think that's my least favorite thing to do, but I think he's one of the best defensive players in the NBA. And I have a feeling that you might have him first team all defense. I could definitely see the argument for it. Yeah, I can see the argument for it. No question. He's 6th for me for what it's worth. So he's right there. And then it's not like he's a bad offensive player, right? The 3-point shooting down below 30% is, a little bit worrisome, big picture and all of that. But ultimately, it's a guy that plays both ends of the court and provides a ton of value.
Yeah, has been unbelievable this season as a, overall defender first and foremost, but the scoring continues to be just really, really high level, even though, again, as we get into like the doldrums of March now, has been a bit less. It's always interesting to me the way that Scotty's shooting tails off every year throughout the course of the year, it feels like. If you look at his last 14 games, for instance, he's shooting 16% from 3 right now. He's getting to the line like a little bit less often, 3.9 times per game. He's averaging 16 points in his last 14 games as opposed to like the 20 that he was at throughout the portion and the larger portion of the season. But, I think he's still done enough throughout the totality of the year to where I have him here right now. He's probably the one that I'm most worried about, I would say, like continuing to tail as the year goes, because like you said, he's been tasked with so much throughout the course of the year, and he plays every minute like it's his last on both ends of the court. So I wonder if more of those 2,000 minutes that he's played have been like really active minutes, whereas like sometimes Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Maxey, like they get like some active rest possessions where they're in the corner. Sometimes they're able to relax a little bit defensively, not be as locked in. Scotty is locked in every single time. He's, obviously, I think dealing with, I'm trying to remember what it is, what kind of injury he's dealing with right now. He's like kind of got a little thing where it's a thigh bruise that he's dealing with. Yeah. So like, worth pointing that out as well. But I think he is well worthy of a all NBA nod as of right now, even if I'm a little bit worried that they get there by the end of the year.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay. So our last guys here for all NBA. I had Chet Holmgren.
Okay.
And you had, I'm sorry.
I had Jalen Johnson.
Yeah, sure. Jalen Johnson's defense is really hard for me to get past, to be honest with you. Is like a bigger wing, and I think he's just like a little bit less impactful than the guys like Brunson and Maxey, who really just have to be guarded constantly as scorers and playmakers.
Can I give you a fun stat real fast?
Yeah, go ahead.
So in NBA history, there have only been 4 players that averaged 20, 10, and 7 throughout an entire season. Do you know who those 4 players are? They've all done it multiple times, to be clear, but only 4 different players have done it. 20 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists.
Has LeBron done this?
LeBron has not done this.
I was going to say, I don't think so. Jokic has definitely done it.
Jokic has done it. I think it said 7 times or something stupid.
Yeah. 20, 10, and 7.
Think triple-double guys. We'll give you 2 of the names.
Yeah. I mean, Russ and Oscar Robertson have done
There you go.
Both.
Russ. Yep.
Yeah.
And then Wilt. Wilt is always one of these, and I just, I saw that stat. I'm with you on the defense. Sometimes I hear people talk about him being a good defender. I don't think that's the case. He's doing this right now is why I bring it up. He's averaging almost 23, 10.5 and 8. And I was just kind of looking at totals for the NBA. he is 4th in the NBA in total rebounds while also being 3rd in the NBA in total assists behind only Cade and Jokic. And the scoring, even like he's 49% from the field, Sam, and 34% from 3. So listen, I had him. Chet was right there with it as well. Like, again, this is another one I'm not going to have qualms about. I ultimately went with what I think is an incredible. Also, part of it, I had Chet there initially, and then I thought it was biased because he was so incredible in the game that I just watched last night. I was like, maybe I'm overselling what he is offensively because I just watched him go nuclear on the Knicks in that game.
So I'm going to say this. If you look at the Hawks schedule down the stretch here, it's like really not difficult for the most part.
So
like,
he might really rack up some numbers here.
Yeah. So it's, they have the Sixers on Saturday, and then Dallas, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, then the Magic, then Dallas, then the Rockets, then the Warriors, then they have Grizzlies, Pistons, Celtics, Kings, Celtics, Magic, then Nets again, Knicks, Cavs, Heat. So like they have quite a few games. Like they have like 7 or 8 games against that really, really, lower end of the Eastern Conference, and Dallas a couple times here too. Teams that like aren't trying to win games pretty actively. So I wonder if he does end up really pushing it forward and ended up making the team.
Sure. Makes sense.
For me with Chet, and we can transition this now into all defense and just kind of talk about Chet kind of all encompassing within the defensive player of the year conversation. I have Chet right now 3rd in defensive player of the year. He's averaging 17, 9, and 2, shooting 55, 35, 78. His ability to knock down shots from the perimeter as like a combo 4-5 man is truly monstrous for their offense. Having a two-way guy like this who is an elite shooter, an elite defender, overall massive playmaker is just such a massive difference for Oklahoma City. He, along with Shea, is kind of what makes them go, in my opinion. Because Jalen Williams has been out for a majority of the season, he's had to step up into the number 2 option offensively and has done so in a really impressive way. Defensively this season just continues to be one of the absolute monsters in the league. They have a 104.8 defensive rating when Chet is on the court this season. He is exceptional positionally. He is exceptional with his anticipation. His length is a real impediment. He is mobile enough to guard on the perimeter, even if it's not like, the biggest part of his game necessarily. When he's on the court, they're a plus 15 right now. And when he's off the court, they're a plus 8.8. Just a ridiculously good basketball player at the end of the day. And we can transition now into defensive player of the year if you want, but
did you have any other names? Like, did you even what was there?
Jalen Johnson was the other one. Like I pretty strongly considered, but I felt like I had a pretty good group here, to be honest with you.
I did as well. That's why I wanted to ask if like I had left, because like Booker's just the minutes and stuff. Like I had been really campaigning for him over the last couple. Avdia, even minutes wise, has dropped a little bit. Like I don't know that I considered anybody else super strongly. So I wasn't sure if you did either.
Booker would be like probably 17 for me right now. Both Lowry and Steph Curry and Giannis,
not
like
eligible.
All 3 of those guys are out of eligibility at this point officially. Honestly, like I think Pascal Siakam has been awesome this year.
I kept seeing his name. Yeah,
they're just not good enough at the end of the day to get him there by any stretch. So it felt pretty cut and dry to me.
Yeah, this was one of the easier All NBAs I think I've done in the 2 years you've had me do this with you. Because I think when I first started doing this, you'd bring on other people, but this was one of the quote unquote easier ones. I don't feel like I stressed quite as much or had to move guys around quite as much.
Defensive player of the year, top 3 was also quite easy for me. Victor Wembanyama, who we've talked about on that end. Rudy Gobert was number 2. Chet Holmgren was number 3 for me.
I flipped Chet and Rudy, but it was very easily. I'll be honest, those 3, Victor 1, Chet, Rudy 2, 3 in some order. And then my number 4 was also very easy whenever we get to that. Like I very much knew who I thought should be in that spot. I I think I just lean a little bit into how good Oklahoma City is as a team. I understand people who don't like that I do that. I'm cool with that. Rudy has been really, really good defensively this year. He's been awesome. And maybe it's not fair that I put him behind Chet just because Minnesota's 9th and Oklahoma City's one. Ultimately, like there's not that much difference for me. I think I would nitpick it a little bit more if it was actually for the winner, but with Victor eligible, that spot was pretty well taken.
Okay. Let's go to all defense. I don't need to really explain. Rudy's been unbelievable this season. We've talked about both Chet and Wemby.
Sam, I watched a game recently where I watched 3 different NBA players not take shots simply because he was there. And there's just not very many guys. Here's who I'll compare it to. Everybody still challenges Isaiah Stewart at the rim. That might not be a good decision because his defensive field goal percentage is so good, but he doesn't stop guys from shooting the ball. Rudy, I think, stops more people from shooting the basketball at the rim outside of Victor Wembanyama. That would be my pitch for Rudy. I think maybe sometimes I end up doing who would I rather have, and I think Chet's just all-around versatility defensively would be a little bit more exciting for me, but I understand the impact argument of what Rudy does.
Yeah. Okay. My other 2 first-team All-NBA defenders are Asar Thompson, who I thought was pretty clearly the 4th guy this year.
Yep.
And I had Scotty Barnes as my 5th guy.
Yeah. Asar was unquestionably the number 4 guy for me.
So explain why Asar is very clearly the number 4 guy right now.
I think Detroit is the 2nd best defense in the NBA. And maybe 3rd. I think San Antonio is making a real push for having the 2nd best defense. But Asar is by far the best defender on that team. Has played the minutes he has the minutes. As long as JB keeps playing him more than 20, we're going to be okay here. We're actually closer to him not being eligible than what people realize sometimes. But what I have come to really appreciate with Asar is it's not just disruption, and there's a lot of disruption, but it's also just how solidly he can guard at the point of attack as well. So I think he is a perimeter defender that, because of his size and athleticism, has some matchup versatility that does the solid things along with the disruptive things. For example, I think Scotty is insane as an off the ball defender and disruptor.
Yeah.
I don't think that I'm trying to say this without being disrespectful. I think Asar is clearly a better point of attack defender in terms of the amount of matchups that Asar can take.
Not even close to me.
Okay.
Not even.
So that's, I'm being fair saying that then.
Yeah, 100%. And I think Asar is probably a little bit less valuable off the ball than what Scotty is, but it's close to me. It's not all that close.
I would agree. Scotty's a better rim protector than Scotty's a better rim protector than Asar is. Yeah.
And the reason I went Scotty in the 5th spot right now for all defense is because he has just made more end of game big plays, on top of being a great defender, right? Scotty is an awesome defender who really does an amazing job, keying their system, allowing them to get really aggressive at the point of attack with guys like Jamal Shed, because they know that he is back there and he will clean up a lot of messes, right? I don't think he's somebody that the advanced numbers love in terms of defensive impact right now. If you look at the EPM number, for instance, it's a little bit lower than what you would expect.
Interesting.
I'll pull it up while we're looking or while we're talking, but he's a positive defender. He's not a in the realm of Victor, Asar, Chet, Kaysen Wallace is really high. Derek White's really high. Rudy's really high, right? But to me, part of that is that he's just asked to play this role where he's cleaning up for a lot and roaming and playing this amazing help defensive style. The tiebreaker for me, though, was that he's just made more end of game defensive plays than I've seen anybody else make this year. He's just been massive at the end of games to help them win important games that frankly have kept them in the playoffs, not just in the play-in, which, by the way, my preseason prediction of the Toronto Raptors being in the playoffs, not in the play-in, looking pretty good right now. Feel okay about that?
I've tried to avoid that part of my spreadsheet in terms of my over-under thoughts because I have quite a few big whiffs. I had Bam 5th and then Scotty 6th.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I had Bam all defense, but I had him a little bit lower on the all defense conversation.
Sure.
Okay, second team all defense. I have Derek White. I have Cason Wallace. I have Steph Castle. I have Bam Adebayo, and I have Amen Thompson.
Okay.
Who are your 5?
So I would be with Scotty, Amin, Cason, Steph Castle, and I left Evan Mobley on, with all due respect to the Celtics and OG Anunoby. I'm sorry. Like I want 3 teams here.
Those were the 2 for me for sure as well.
I was like, gosh dang it. Sam, Steph Castle is unbelievable on the defensive end. And I think part of this is I watched what he did to Cade, and I realize he has Wemby behind him, but he's really good. Watching Cade, I thought Cason, as much as I gave Brunson love earlier, I thought Cason actually had a pretty good game against him on Wednesday. I think Cason Wallace is awesome along with all the disruption he causes. I hated this so much because OG, I was hoping so much OG wasn't eligible. Do you know what the Knicks are in defensive rating right now? They're 6th for the season in defensive rating. OG is a monster, and not getting a Celtic on there, they're 7th in defensive rating. I do not like, this is the one that really bothers me the most. Like not getting some of these guys on there. It really,
I think
really
there
sucks.
are 12. I think there are 100% 12 guys right now for 10 spots in all defense. Those
the
are
ones,
the 12.
Okay, yeah. So you would have you had Mobley slightly off, but he would be in your top 12.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Mobley was a really hard omission for me, and OG was a really hard omission for me.
Okay, sure.
But I went with Derek White. Derek White has been
he's so good,
unfathomably good on defense for the last 2 months. It's been completely absurd what he's been able to do for their defense. Every time that he's on the court, he's just making these incredible chaos plays and chaos rotations and flying around, making life incredibly challenging for the opposition. When he's on the court, they have a 109.2 defensive rating, the Celtics. When he's off the court, they have a 119 defensive rating right now. He is averaging, I believe it is, let me pull it up here, 1.5 blocks per game right now and 1.2 steals. He's a genuine rotate across rim protection guy, and is also blocking jump shots at a really high level. And block shots from behind particularly as well is what he's excellent at. But the hand-eye coordination is elite. Fights through screens at a truly elite level. He was the 6th guy for me. If he ends up first team all defense, I think it will be so richly deserved. Derek White has been incredible this season. The advanced numbers, obviously love him. That's been a point of conversation in comparison to Jaylen Brown this year. That's not a secret by any stretch. But yeah, what he has done, recently, particularly on the defensive end, I think has just been ludicrous. You're muted.
Dang it. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to keep you from having to listen to me drink my coffee. I apologize yet again. Yeah, he's been awesome. It's kind of funny. We got some of these smaller, quote unquote, smaller guards, some guard level players, but I think all of these guys just play so much bigger than what they are, including Cason Wallace and Steph Castle. And then obviously with what Derek White does with his disruption.
Yep. Steph Castle, do you want to talk about him at all?
I just think when you talk about a guy that can defend at the point of attack and do it with physicality, he's about as good as it gets, I think, in the NBA in terms of a perimeter player. I think he's awesome. If I'm teams, I am terrified of that duo of him and Wembanyama on the defensive end for years to come, because it's going to be really, really good.
Yeah, just a absolute savage at the point of attack. Defensively, I think he does do a good job in help defense as well. Just very clearly a guy that should be in consideration for all defense. Bam, and Cason again, just an absolute savage defensively in terms of on the ball, what he can do, he flies around off the ball. He is a monster with his hand-eye coordination, with how he disrupts guys at the point of attack. I think that he might be like my current favorite in terms of like the hand fighting with on the ball like players, where when they catch, he'll just like try and get his hands in there, and they'll have to like try and rip through and like get around, and like he'll just continue to fight with his hands. Probably my favorite guy right there in that regard. Yeah, and then Bam has just been incredibly switchable, versatile. Miami's defense continues to be elite because of Bam's versatility and flexibility on that end.
Yes.
Okay. Rookie of the year time. I think the top three is pretty clear. It's VJ Edgecombe, and then it's whatever you want to do with Con and Cooper in the top, right?
I would agree.
So what did you have?
I had Con over Cooper this time.
So in the previous rookie rankings, I had Cooper over Con because I thought that what he was doing on the ball for like the month before that had just been so good. And the way I do rookie rankings is full year. It's not just like a power ranking. I have flipped back to Con over Cooper now. Yeah. What Con is doing is like ludicrous right now. He's averaging 19 points, 5.5 rebounds, 3.4 assists, shooting 49, 44, 87. I really want him to get the 50, 40, 90 season shooting at this kind of volume from three. He's already broken the rookie record for 3-pointers. He's leading the league right now in 3-pointers made this season. He's shooting 43.6% from three, which is 8th in the NBA. I'm staggered every single time I watch him, but it's so much more than the threes, right? Like the way he attacks closeouts, the way that he's able to use his body to maintain position in space and maintain advantages when he drives. He can play in ball screens occasionally. The overall movement offensively, the quick decision-making that he employs on the offensive end to keep that offense in flow. I was talking about this on a show I just did previously over here in Australia, and they asked me about the Hornets, and I said, they're like a testament to what the synergy of an offense of like a 5-man starting lineup can be. I don't think I've seen a more synergistic. That's not to say there aren't better starting lineups in the league, but like the synergy that LaMelo Ball, Con Knipple, Brandon Miller, Moussa Diabate, and Miles Bridges have together is so incredible to watch. They very clearly just have this innate feel for one another and where one another is going to be on the court all the time. Their games match up perfectly with one another, with LaMelo making plays in ball screens, the Charles Lee scheme running these fun guard-to-guard actions with Con and with LaMelo and with Brandon Miller. And then you have Miles Bridges, who, you know, whatever about Miles Bridges, right? Like, we're not fans of him on the show, but the power and the athleticism and able to get up above the rim is really valuable in transition for them. Diabate's defensive intensity. He is a guy that, like, you know, I at least looked at for all defense. I didn't end up there with him on the all defense team. I actually am not certain that he's eligible because he's at 41 games over 20 minutes right now. And then you get the 2 extra ones, is it 2 or 3 extra ones that you play under 15 or 15 to 20 minutes? It's going to be close as to whether or not he's going to be eligible for all defense, but like the 13th name that I considered right now, like he's been outstanding on that end this season. He's switchable. He kills the glass. He's a real rim protector. They're a testament to synergy on the overall like offensive and defensive ends. But I think that Con is probably, for me, the player that embodies it most because of how rapidly he makes decisions. I think LaMelo drives a lot of the play, but I think Con, with like how he screens in these guard-to-guard actions that have been so valuable, and how he's capable of making those rapid, 0.5 millisecond decisions when he catches, is why they're so successful in my opinion. Is like, it embodies why they're successful, maybe in the biggest way.
Yeah, he's been awesome. I think for me, it just kind of came down to Con has played 13 more games than Cooper at this point. The elite level 3-point shooting that Con already is displaying, not for a rookie. Like, you don't have to give that caveat. And he's already shattered that. That is in the rear view for Con Knipple. I mean, it's when you watch a Hornets game, it's him versus Donovan Mitchell in terms of the most 3-point makes in the league, regardless of who you are. And the fact that the Hornets are winning, which you just kind of outlined, is why I ended up with Con. And I had Cooper first when we did the halfway, but I pretty quickly went with Con here at the 3/4 mark.
Yeah. And then we have Cooper's been unbelievable too.
Yes.
He's just missed a lot of time recently. We'll probably do a rookie report at some point. Maybe that'll be next Thursday. Maybe we'll do rookies next Thursday and kind of talk through them a little bit more aggressively, because I know people love it when we talk through rookies and young NBA players. Cooper's averaging 20 points, 6.6 rebounds, 4.1 assists, shooting 48, 30, 80 right now. He's been genuinely elite. And especially if you look like up until the, injury that he had, right? Like, had been completely absurd for the, month and a half leading up to that. In his 24 games prior to that, 23 points, 6.8 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, shooting 48, 35, 80, from the field. So, Cooper's been unbelievable. It's just that Con is doing this over a larger sample of games on a winning team, and has just been, truly fantastic, and every bit as close to Cooper as is worthwhile.
Yep, I agree.
So with all rookie, we'll throw VJ into all rookie now.
Yep.
And kind of layer that in. So all rookie, Con, Cooper, VJ. I had Cedric Howard, and I have Dylan Harper.
Same, in that order.
VJ Edgecombe, it's just been a roller coaster is the easiest way to put it with VJ. Like, there are 6-game stretches where he is like completely dominant, and he just had one of those 6-game stretches recently where, he averaged 20 points, 7 rebounds, 2.5 assists, shooting 48, 44, 94. And then in the, what was it? Like, let's see here. 16 games before that, VJ was averaging 12, 5, and 4, shooting 41, 28, 79, right? So it's a roller coaster with VJ. Sometimes he's incredible and looks awesome on the court. Sometimes, he looks like he's a guy that should probably be like their 6th man, right? And coming off the bench and everything. He brings real defensive energy, real defensive intensity. I love the way he crashes the glass from the backcourt. His athleticism is very real. I'm a total buyer in him probably being an all-star at some point down the road. It's just up and down right now in the way that you expect for a rookie, especially in comparison to those top 2 guys.
Yeah, I agree. I do not really have him in their tier, but I wouldn't say he's in a tier by himself, but I very quickly had him 3rd above Coward, partially just because he is starting on a team that is winning some games. He's played 8 more games than Coward at this point as well. Coward's cooled off just a little bit, although he's also been awesome this year. And then Dylan Harper, I just don't think his numbers do it justice. Like, he's still 10th in rookies in points per game. And I know he can't hit threes, but I just think on a winning team in the role he's in, he does a really nice job. And I've really enjoyed his defense. Honestly, here's one thing I will say about this group of 5. I think all of those guys have a real chance to be very plus level defenders, during their time in the NBA. And so I think that's got to be exciting for their teams, that it's not just they're scoring a bunch of points or something like that.
Yeah, Con has been like solid on defense. I don't know that I'll ever get to the point where he can be like a true plus in the way that some of these other guys can be, but I agree with you totally. Harper has been a real plus on defense. Coward has been a real plus on defense. VJ has been a real plus on defense. I think Cooper has been again, like up and down to me. You've seen some of the issues on the ball that we kind of pointed out coming into the draft, like where his hip flexibility isn't all that elite, but he's awesome as a help defender and rotational defender and just flies around all the time. Here's the deal. If you put Dylan Harper on like the Pelicans or something right now, he's averaging like 18 to 20 points a game.
Yeah.
It's that he's playing on this Spurs team where he's the third guard option behind Castle and Fox. They're great. He plays the role that he's asked to play. On top of it, you can just see the growth, like game over game with him. In his last 14 games, he's averaging 13.6 points, 4 rebounds, 4.3 assists versus only 1.5 turnovers, shooting 59% from the field in that time, while only shooting 31% from three. So he's made 70% almost of his 2-point shots in that window because of how good he is at getting out in transition, because of how versatile he is with his hips, being able to drive in half-court settings and get to the rim. We would be watching Dylan in this part of the season right now. If Dylan Harper was on like a tanking team, he'd be going for 20 every night, I think is the reality.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah. Second team. This was challenging. So like you said, I care way more about all defense than I do all rookie. So
I don't care how bad my all rookie second team is about to sound, but it was definitely harder than the second team all defense. I'm still trying to hash it out. I had one name I felt good about, and that was it.
Is it Murray Boyles?
Maxime Renaud. Murray Boyles is on my. You don't even have.
This is the best because I don't have Renaud. Right.
Okay, so mine is Renaud, Bailey, Johnson, Murray Boyles, and Queen. With all due respect to Fears, who's been better but coming off the bench, Kobe Sanders, Jaeger Dimon, and multiple other names as well. So I can't wait to hear yours.
So I have Murray Boyles, Trey Johnson, Jaeger Demon, Derek Queen, Ace Bailey.
Oh, so we only had one different.
Yeah. I think Queen's start to the year was still good enough to earn him.
That's where I ended up.
Even though he's coming off the bench behind DeAndre Jordan right now, and like very clearly does not fit with Zion, which we said on draft night, and is just the reality of the situation. Ace Bailey's coming on. I really like the way they use Ace in Utah. I think they utilize him properly, like minimize the dribbles, maximize the scoring effectiveness as like a shooter. Trey Johnson, is really coming on for Washington. I've felt like when I've watched him over the course of the last 2 months, continues to be just an exceptionally professional scorer. When I watch him play, 12 points, 43% from the field, 37% from three, 88% from the line. Had that amazing run prior to the injury where I believe it was from, let's see here. It's the 21st of December to the 27th of January, where he was averaging 15, 3 and 3, shooting 46, 41, 92. And then the next game he got hurt and missed the next 6 games, I think. And then, got back, I think right before the All-Star break, and just hasn't quite been himself since then. So it's tricky, right? Fears was one that I considered just, the early portion of the season, the middle portion of the season. Like he just really has tanked their lineups pretty aggressively. But has been much better coming off the bench recently. I think like his energy has been better. His defense has been better. Renaud is one very strongly considered. Murray Boyles' defense is obscene. He's so good on that end.
Ridiculous.
And has made shots, has done the right things. Kalkbrenner has been useful. Started the season a decent amount for Charlotte, has come off the bench. Recently, I'm trying to think of any other guys that we need to talk about.
I think Kobe
here.
Sanders has been good for the Clippers, and
he
started, like Kobe is one that I wonder when we get to the end of the year, if the Clippers, end up 500 or better, and he starts all of these final 20 games for them, if he sneaks on there. My guess is that top 5 is going to somewhat stay that way, but I think this second group could really change depending on, if guys continue to come off the bench, guys continue to start, those type of things.
Yeah. And my last guy I had 11th was Hugo Gonzalez. He just
Sure.
is so energetic and so
Yeah.
good on defense. He chases every loose ball. He is so helpful for them on the defensive end, and he's helping a winning team right now. Just was a little bit challenging, I thought, to get him on this group right now because of where the offense is. But Hugo is really helping a really good team, and if he ends up in the top 10 by the end of the year, it wouldn't stun me at all.
That's fair. Yeah, I would have guessed that Hugo was a little lower in total minutes, but he's not as low as I thought. So I think that's a great shout out.
Yeah. Yeah, Reynaud is the other one. Like I had like 12 names that I felt really good that I had to get on. Reynaud is the other one. And look, like part of this too is that like Jaeger is starting to tail a little bit.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, so that's like a little bit trickier. He obviously is, you know, hasn't played for, what is it? Probably like 2 weeks now, week and a half, something like that. Maybe a week and a half. It feels like he hasn't played for, but up until that group, like if you look at his 15 games prior to that, it was, you know, 10 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, shooting 38, 35, 82. So like, you know, a good example with Jaeger is like the 3-point shooting. When it's not falling, he becomes like a little bit more challenging to get on the court, I think.
For sure.
Okay. Coach of the year. I think this answer is just like abundantly clear, if I'm being honest.
I find that very disrespectful. So this is one where we could probably spend a lot more time. I don't disagree with I think your answer is fine. I very much dislike that people have discounted JB Bickerstaff in the conversation. I do not like that Joe Mazzulla is a runaway winner. I would have JB to be clear. And it is frustrating that we all of a sudden think that he's not doing a good job because we don't like his X's and O's or something. And
JB's done an amazing job. Like, let's be clear this year.
So why is Joe Mazzulla clear, unquestioned, whatever? I don't. That is the part of the statement I don't agree with. I will listen to Joe Mazzulla's Coach of the Year. I will push back on JB shouldn't even be part of the conversation.
7 through 11 right now in minutes played for the Boston Celtics. Jordan Walsh, Baylor Shireman, Hugo, Luka Garza, Josh Minot. And then like Simons, Keita, Sam Hauser, who has not been great this year. He's been better recently, but like has not been great. To me, it's more when you watch them play.
Sure. And
you watch them like night after night. It's that Mazzulla picks up every single piece of low-hanging fruit. They're winning, I think, because of Mazzulla's coaching decisions night after night, whereas I think the Pistons are winning because of the like toughness and defensive scheme throughout the course of the season that JB employs. But I think that on a night-by-night basis, I think the Pistons are a more talented team than the Boston Celtics. And I think that on a night-by-night basis, Mazzulla's decisions in terms of like I remember watching a Rockets game where, do you know, like most teams, like if there's a non-shooter on the court, they will just not guard the non-shooter, right? Not most teams, but like they'll use like roaming help defenders. The Celtics used 2. They did that against 2 guys. They did it against Amen, and they did it against like whoever else was on the court. The way that he's been able to find a way to get Luka Garza on the court just by doing that has been really valuable and like allowing him to be useful. I think the way that Joe has weaponized like those guys into accentuating their strengths while minimizing their weaknesses on the court, while not having like as much talent, again, to me, as Detroit has, is pretty insane, given that Detroit's guys, I think, are less one-dimensional even. And we talk about like the one-dimensionality of a lot of Detroit's guys regularly, but like Jordan Walsh is like exceedingly one-dimensional defensively on the court, or like can't really guard or can't really do much on offense. Luka Garza is exceedingly one-dimensional. Like the fact that he works at all defensively is a credit to Joe Mazzulla. On top of that, you look at what they've done to maximize their edges night after night just by winning the possession battle. It's, you know, we're going to max 3-point rate. We're going to minimize turnovers in every way, shape, and form by running this like very simplistic offense. We're going to max offensive rebound. We're going to kill the defensive glass. And we're going to play like a real like shell style defense to make it so that our guys can stick. They hit the low hanging fruit in terms of the scout and in terms of like knowing your personnel night after night after night, in a way that I think that JB doesn't, honestly. Not to say that JB is I think JB is doing fine in that regard. It's just, I think what the Celtics and Missoula are doing is on a different level than what everybody else is doing.
My counter is the Pistons are winning with 27% 3-point percentage from Asar Thompson, doesn't shoot threes, Jalen Duren, 34% from Tobias Harris, 24% from Ron Holland, 32% from Isaiah Stewart, playing Javonte Green 1,000 minutes, Dennis Jenkins, who started on a two-way 860 minutes, Karis LeVert, who everybody hates and thinks isn't good, 830 minutes, and Paul Reed 600 minutes. And my counter here is, I think we enjoy the things the Celtics do more and can give credit to the coaches more than what the Pistons are doing that I give JB credit for, in terms of I can't quantify culture for the listeners. Yeah. I can't, but I give JB credit for the culture that the Detroit Pistons have and play with night in and night out. And I think I don't get like, I want people to be like, I don't ultimately care. I don't have a relationship with JB or like any of that stuff. Watching this team night in and night out and where they were, and this isn't the award, I get that, but where they were 2 years ago and what expectations were coming into the season, I don't think JB gets enough credit for the culture and the way this team plays night in and night out. And you talk about like maximizing your roster. I do think he's looked at his roster and said, we can't win this way. We can only win this way. And that's how they essentially play every single night, which is why I'm fine if somebody wants Missoula as coach of the year. I feel like it's a little bit dismissive to not at least involve JB in the conversation. That is my biggest qualm with it.
So I get like, look, I would have JB like very clearly too. And then I would have Jordan Ott and Charles Lee fighting for the third spot, basically. Sure. So like, very clearly would have JB at 2, and I'm for that. But I think that the Celtics culture is every bit as good as Detroit's, I guess is what I would argue. And I think, again, like the way that they pick up the low-hanging fruit night after night after night is a little bit more indicative of what the coaching staff is doing and what the coaching staff is employing, as opposed to what JB is employing. And, even just from a talent perspective, right? Like we go down the roster, like we would both agree that Cade is better than Jaylen Brown, right? Is the number one player.
Yes.
I will even like give you that. I think Derek White and Jalen Duren are probably like pretty close, right? And like say
in terms of impact and sure, whatever.
Different. Yeah. Like you can sell me that Derek White is better. You can sell me that Jalen Duren's better, depending on what you want, whatever. Right. Then like go down the roster again, like Peyton Pritchard versus Tobias Harris. I think I might still take Tobias at the end of the day. Like, am I wrong?
It's tough because we're like, like the idea of comparing, would you rather have Derek White and Peyton Pritchard or Jalen Duren and Tobias Harris is just like, they're such different positions. It's tough. This is where
what if we say Asar versus Peyton Pritchard? Would you rather?
I would take Asar. We just said Asar was by far the 4th best defender in the NBA, and like, yes, as good as Peyton Pritchard is offensively, he's not that. So,
would you rather have Tobias Harris or let's go with like the Hauser Simons duo that they've played this year? You'd rather have Tobias Harris?
Sure.
Yeah. In the 5th spot, like I think Keita would be ahead of whoever you want to say is the 5th spot for the, I don't know even. Cause like now we're into like Isaiah Stewart range. And would you rather have Isaiah Stewart or Nimi Keita? Yeah. I think I might rather have Stewart actually.
Keita's been awesome though.
Yeah. And then we get into like the bench and it's like, okay, like Ron Holland is there. Like, I'd probably rather have Ron Holland than all of the young wings that the Celtics have. All due respect to those guys. Like, I'd rather have Karis LeVert than all of those guys that are coming off the bench now for the Celtics, right? Like, you know, I think that the Celtics are a less talented team than the Detroit Pistons is kind of where I'm at. And I think that they max wins through like the decisions that Joe makes.
Okay. I listen, I'll concede that Detroit has been better than them this year too. Like, totally. So like that, so that would be like, that would be my counter to Joe is doing with less. My counter is that's fine. JB has done more up to this point in terms of wins and losses by 5 games would be my major counter to that argument.
Yeah, I get it. I do. I get it. Okay. I had Jordan Ott third. He's been awesome. Third.
Yeah, I had Ott third, and then Charles Lee, and then I would at least wanted to give Mitch Johnson a shout out. Like, I mean,
yeah, me too.
Like the Spurs aren't just awesome because of Victor Wembanyama and what, like he's done a good job there with San Antonio. So I thought he deserved a shout out.
All right. And we're going to speed round through the last 2 just because like I don't care as much about them, to be honest.
This one was hard.
6th man of the year. I have Naz Reid. I have Isaiah Stewart. I have Jaime Jaquez.
Yeah. So I had Jaime Jaquez, Keldon Johnson, Naz Reid, and this got way harder because AJ Mitchell just hasn't played enough games to be. Yeah. I mean, I don't think the games like he just hasn't played enough to be in contention right now. Not necessarily because of the whatever. So I didn't know what to do with Stu just because he had missed so many games. Also, you know, he's at 49 games played. So I know the award doesn't carry the official thing, but it's like when he's only played 49 and like I think Keldon has played 61. You know, like it was hard. In regards to that, but
we can I had Keldon 4, and we can shout out the good friends over at FANATICS Sportsbook. They have Naz Reid at even money right now, Keldon Johnson at 3-1, Jaime Jaquez at 6-1, Reed Shepard 6-1. Reed was another name I thought about. Yep. Tim Hardaway Jr. 15-1. I would assume move 40-1. They have Isaiah Stewart at 60-1 right now, which feels crazy, but like I also don't think the voters are going to vote for Isaiah Stewart. So like. Just kind of the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
The last one is most improved player. And this is another one where like the odds are all over the place. I'll just say this. I removed everyone that's like a star and just decided to shout out 3 guys that have gone from the edges of the league to awesome role on like a great team. I went with Ryan Rollins at 1, Nimi Keita at 2, Colin Gillespie at 3.
Yep. Those were all names I had as well. Ultimately, you know, depending on how you would want to answer this question or whatever, I still think Keontae George and Nickeil Alexander-Walker are names for me. Jalen Duren. The one, I don't think this is the spirit of the award, but Sadiq Bey is a name that I just wanted to shout here. Just his is more coming back from injury, which again, I know isn't the spirit of the award, but for me, it kind of makes sense with it because he has been incredible for a team that has been awful this year, but he's having an insane season. So kind of to your point, I wanted to give him a shout out, but I had Rollins, Gillespie, and Keita as well.
And for what it's worth, you know, again, our friends over at FANATICS Sportsbook, our partners here at the show, Jalen Duren is minus 140 to win this award right now. So he's like the favorite very clearly. Jalen Duren plus 200, Ryan Rollins 10-1, Denny Avdia 12-1, Nickeil Alexander-Walker 16-1, Keontae George is a good name 25-1, Anthony Black 75-1, and Colin Gillespie is 100-1. That's bonkers to me. And then like Nimi Keita is like not even listed, so that's like totally crazy. And for what it's worth, on our coaching conversation, the sportsbooks agree with you right now. Like they have JB Bickerstaff at minus 330 and Joe Mazzulla at plus 480. Mitch Johnson at plus 800. Charles Lee 18-1. Jordan Ott is 40-1. Obviously I don't agree with it being that big of a split. Maybe the voters will feel differently than I do, and maybe they're just like all in on JB. And I have no problem. Like I don't really have a problem with JB winning. I just think it's like very clear that Mazzulla is the guy.
Yeah. Who You said Jalen Duren twice. I think, did you mean Jalen Johnson is the...
Jalen Johnson is the other most improved player. Yeah.
He has the worst, whatever. He has the betting odds. He's the betting odds on favorite. Jalen Johnson is?
He is. Jalen Duren is the odds on favorite.
Oh, the second Jalen you said then was supposed to be Johnson. Okay.
Jalen Johnson is second. Yeah. By the way, this is just amazing. So the rookie of the year.
I saw this too. I was going to ask you to read this.
Con Knipple is -160. Cooper Flag is +125. Makes total sense. The guy that they have in third right now is purely because of like the handle I'm sure that they got on it. It's Hansen Young at 80-1. I guarantee it's just because Fanatics Sportsbook got so much money on Hansen Young coming into the year that like they just have to like protect themselves. But that's very funny to me.
Yeah, I noticed that whenever GMAC sent it over, and I kind of was scrolling through all of the odds, which I don't check very often, but was excited to see it today. And I was like, oh, that name definitely stood out as I was scrolling the names.
Yeah. And always shout out our good friends over at Fanatics Sportsbook. They're the best. Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
At Motor City Hoops on Twitter, on Blue Sky, Motor City Hoops Substack. If your favorite team plays the Pistons, I will have notes on them as well, i.e. the San Antonio Spurs. I will have notes on that game from tonight where they take on Detroit. Probably very intense notes because that is a very fun matchup for the Pistons after what happened last game. Also, the Game Theory Substack where I will have a Tunde Yesufu video breakdown dropping Friday morning, and then we'll continue to do that along with everything Sam has and our NBA draft show over on the Substack. And of course, appreciate all of your support here at the Game Theory Podcast.
Go hit the subscribe button over on the Substack, gametheorysamv.substack.com. It is the best way to support the show if you can. It is $6 a month, and you get more breakdowns on players and teams and everything and NBA draft prospects than you will find anywhere else in terms of like an in-depth variety. So go to the Substack, gametheorysamv.substack.com. Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. I think I might do an additional rookie rankings next week just for funsies because I've changed who I have as rookie of the year. So go there, subscribe. We appreciate everybody who comes through and supports this show. We will be back later on Sunday. We have a fun topic there. We're going to go through some guys that changed teams at the deadline and talk about how they've looked in their new homes. That's all we got, though. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye. Must be 21 or over. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See Fanatics Sportsbook app.